we know Elon Musk has put in what appears to be now $200 million into this campaign. 75 million goes to this like dark money group. Then there's another 100 million that seem to be going into his super PAC. The dark money group is the one that put out all the fake ads and maybe doing, God knows what else they're doing. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, it's all a scam operation by a lot of people in there, but nevertheless. So Elon's in there for a couple 100 million. Is it Mellon from Uline? Who is the guys from Uline? That cardboard box place. He's put in 100 million easy. Miriam Adelson, 125 million. This is just what we publicly know. And here's J.D. Vance talking about how Trump is not beholden to moneyed interests.
But people don't, and I recognize you probably have, of your millions of listeners, some people love Trump and some people hate him. But the thing that Trump really changed about D.C.
Oh, incidentally, this is Theo Vaughn's show. He's a comedian. I'm sorry. Did I also forget that this guy worked his entire career for Peter Thiel, a billionaire who sunk at least $15 to $20 million in his Senate campaign?
The entire reason J.D. Vance is there is Trump's beholdenness to those money men.
Exactly.
But people don't, and I recognize you probably have, of your millions of listeners, some people love Trump and some people hate him. But the thing that Trump really changed about D.C. is that he was not beholden to the moneyed interests.
Oh, well, that's one thing that I also like about Bobby Kennedy. That I've known Bobby for years. Kennedy. Bobby's been a friend of mine for years. I knew him before I thought he was going to do politics.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I like Bobby.
He used to hold meetings at his house on Tuesdays, and we would go to him.
Yeah.
In his backyard, dude. And one of his dogs always was slobbering stuff on me. It was a huge dog. It might not even have been a dog because he has a lot of animals.
What would it have been then?
I don't know, dude. But he's had a lot of animals over the years.
And
Bobby,
what was
he
this?
Can afford probably
what was
a big
this
animal.
Baby dog that was slobbering all over Theo?
But he doesn't need anything else. He's got a great name. He's got a cool wife. He's always cared about just making people healthy. Is he wrong sometimes on things? Sure, he probably is, just like anybody else.
Everybody's
but I'd rather have somebody just raise their hand and ask questions.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that I just love about him, that he's not beholden to any of these people, you know.
The thing that I hate about...
Pause it for a second. He's not beholden to any of these people. He literally went and announced publicly, I tried to make a deal with Harris. She wouldn't make a deal with me.
I was for sale.
I put myself out there. I said, you can purchase this. She didn't make the offer I wanted, so I went over to Trump. I mean, because they're so clearly so ideologically aligned.
Yeah, Bobby wants to make all foods organic, and Trump likes McDonald's.
The Republican Party, incidentally, during the Obama years, mercilessly, ruthlessly attacked Michelle Obama for attempting to do what supposedly Bobby Kennedy is going to be in charge of. I mean, Google Michelle Obama vegetables, and you will see how ruthlessly and relentlessly this is authoritarian. Why is she doing this? What is going on? She's trying to healthy lunches. Big government trying to get involved in it.
Get away from the French fries, Mrs. Obama, says Glenn Beck.
I mean, what, and now I get, this is we're almost talking about 8.5 years ago. So it's impossible to anybody to remember this. Go ahead.
Holding to any of these people, you know.
The thing that I hate about politics and just media culture in this country right now, man, is people are so afraid of saying anything that's unconventional. They're afraid of thinking thoughts that you're not allowed to think. Like, the biggest ideas come from people who just follow the truth. Right. And yeah, sometimes they're going to be wrong. Sometimes they're not going to get everything right. But we've got to stop punishing people like Bobby Kennedy for saying, well, maybe
Pause it for a second.
This doesn't work. Yeah.
What is the punishment that Bobby Kennedy has been subjected to? Like, are we going to have mandated, you must show respect for Bobby Kennedy laws? Is that what the idea is? That if you do not conform to the rules that J.D. Vance outlines in terms of respect for Bobby Kennedy, you are in some way gone rogue and society's. I mean, these guys are whining about people reacting to what they say. That's it. Bobby Kennedy has not been punished by anybody. Now, I know he was subjected to nude after nude after nude picture on his phone and text messages, and that's wrong. That type of, and he couldn't stop them from coming to his phone. But we're not all responsible for that punishment that he received. If there is an example of someone who has not been punished, is his family liable for having an opinion that he shouldn't be doing this? I mean, give me a break. Like, what is this?
I mean, he's skated. Mother Jones had a piece kind of outlining this Samoa issue where how RFK Jr. falsely denied his connection to a deadly measles outbreak in Samoa. He also championed a Samoan anti-vaxxer tied to a 2019 lethal eruption that killed scores of children. I don't know what accountability he's really faced from that except for a few articles.
100% none. 100% none. Good.
They're not going to get everything right, but we've got to stop punishing people like Bobby Kennedy for saying, well, maybe
hey, what about
this
that?
doesn't work. Yeah, hey, what about that? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that, hey, what about that is something we have to preserve. And I do feel like we're trying to.
What if he says, hey, what about that for 22 years, despite the fact that he goes like, we addressed that. You thought it was thimerosal in vaccines. Interesting theory. We've taken thimerosal out of those childhood vaccines. Has not impacted the autism rate one iota. I mean, crazy. Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 248 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Carrie from New York.
Carrie from New York. What's on your mind?
Hi, I just sort of wanted to talk about comedy, I guess, because you all did a really good job sort of breaking down Elon Musk and that rooster joke that I'm sure has been made thousands.
Wait, what was that rooster joke he did?
The Saturday Night Live pitch where he...
Oh, yes. I pull out my rubber rooster and say, there's my penis. No, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's been done. It's just he's a...
Oh, yeah, no, I know. I know it's been done because I have a 11-year-old boy son.
Right.
Yeah. So I know it's been done many times.
Great job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess also I sort of wanted to talk about the male loneliness epidemic, which is everybody's lonely. It's not just them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff that is alienating in our society. Phones, social media. We have a loss of third place is a big one that they've been talking about for decades. Yeah.
But I think part of that, let me know what you think of this, because I'm not sure. I mean, Andrew, I have a hard time believing that young men are actually seeking out Andrew Tate or the Fresh and Fit guys or whatever. Because, I mean, the advice that they give is just the stupidest, and it's advice that's only going to further alienate people.
Well,
so they spend more time on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's anxiety exploitation. It's the same reason vaccine and needle sort of stuff does numbers, is people are afraid of something and they are drawn to it.
And I will tell you, as a former 17-year-old boy and 16-year-old boy and 15-year-old boy and 18-year-old boy and 19-year-old, and at one point I became a man in the past couple of months. You're impressionable. You don't know what's going on. I mean, to some extent, I think it's also the same with girls, although I think that actually happens a little bit earlier. For them. Mm-hmm. And there's just different support mechanisms. And in many respects, what's happening with girls and women is emancipatory, right? Like there's something sort of like positive to grow into. For men and boys, the challenge is like, how do you, and I'm not, this is a challenge. There's no doubt about it. I'm not, this is not an apology for them, but how do you readjust to having lost privilege in society? I mean, it's a real, this is an argument we used to have in the wake of Trump. There is a real cost associated with having been automatically installed at the top of the totem pole. There's a couple people over you, like, depending on your class, Brett Kavanaugh is ahead of you, but you're all still like basically within the context of your class, at the very least, you are automatically placed at the top if you're a white male, and that over the past couple of decades is diminishing. It's diminishing first in culture. We see it in the context of like entertainment and just sort of, social media culture on some level. And it's a real loss. When you're born in there, your father lifts you up and goes, you will have everything I had. And, just like even, what's his face? Yesterday we played a clip of Hulk Hogan, who was like, this is the way it works. Jesse, God at the top, and then man, and then woman. And that's the way, that's old school. That's the way we did it. And so you still have these people out there creating these expectations for men like Jesse that they're going to, you're on top. The social hierarchy, you're on top. And then, these 15, 16-year-old boys or, divorced men, essentially, are like, wait a second. When I was a kid, all the TV shows were about me. Sometimes they highlight my mother or my future wife or, somebody, but it's all centered around me. And now I turn on the TV and it's like, whoa, what's going on? I mean, that's why Dan Quayle had a problem with Murphy Brown 35 years ago. So, I mean, there is a loss there, but and we don't, as a society, have. I don't think there's much of a game plan as a society to deal with any of this in any shape or form. But at least when it's an emancipatory situation, you're striving and for something. And for young men, it's sort of.
I mean, look at
how do you deal with the loss? I mean, it requires. I'm not saying, and please don't misinterpret me. This is not an apology for those people who can't handle it. But we do need mechanisms, and they are vulnerable to some ding-dongs who come along and say, well, the way you deal with this is, first off, you tell them, like, it's completely, you're not allowed to say that you're on top of the heap anymore. And we got to stop society from scorning you for it. I mean, that's the type of stuff that we're hearing. Appreciate the call, Carrie.
Thanks a bunch.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Love is best. Bye.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.